right-hand limit which is the same thing but with a plus as the power. So limit of f of x as x approaches a from the right is a number. And that then the limit exists. Any questions so far? I would like to illustrate with some graphs first. But not before I show one more situation, and then we'll look at our book. Okay. Any questions so far? I think that these are not irrelevant anymore. I can get rid of them. Okay. So I'm on page 3. So let's take a look at one more example. So here's another graph. Here's my function, the same function. A different graph, of course, different function, I should say. Good. So, of course, this is my 3. And I have here 2. I have here 4. And I'm going to ask you, what is the limit from f of x as x approaches 3 from the left? So before you say anything, going back to these two graphs, notice that the limit exists in both cases, even if in one the function is defined at that point, and in this graph the function is not defined at that point. It could be not defined here, it could be defined here, or not at all. It doesn't matter whether the function is defined at the point or not. That does not influence the limit existing or not, the existence of the limit. Okay? So coming back here, can anyone give us the limit from the left of f of x?
Would it be 2?
Perfect. What is the limit of f of x as x approaches 3 from the right? Who said 2? Sorry.
Brianna.
Thank you.
It would be 4.
Do you all agree with 4? And now I'm going to ask you, what is the limit of f of x as x approaches 3 from either side? X approaches 3 from either side. Which number does the limit or the function values approach?
Would it be 3?
There is no number. If these two limits are not the same, the limit from either side cannot exist. So coming back to our first example, because both sides reach the same or approach the same number, the limit exists. Defined function or not defined, from both sides, same number. But here, there is no such thing. This side approaches 2 and it doesn't go anywhere. This side approaches 4 and it doesn't go anywhere. It dies right there on the spot. So the limit from either side, what number will I write? If this side is 4 and this side is 2, what number will I write? Is that understood? Anyone? Any questions? Do we understand this concept?
Are we going to go into when they're infinity next, or?
Yes, we're going to go to limits at infinity, but not before we look at a couple of graphs. And I would like to answer a few questions, or we want to answer a few questions, and then we'll go to limits that involve infinity or limits that have the answer infinity. There are two different situations here. Okay, so do you have your book up, everyone? If you have it, then I don't need to have it myself. So please tell me whether you have your book up.
Yes.
I have mine.
Yep.
Everyone?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because I was trying to get to that page and I'm having difficulties here with this device. Which page? Page 103. How do I, anyone can teach me how do I put the page number in there directly? Print page, no, I don't want to do that. Is there a way of getting directly to the page number? Okay, I got it. Okay, I'll go to 1.2 and then go back. Okay, perfect. Okay. Okay, so page, one more time, 103. So let's look at problem, let's choose anything from 103. You choose anything from 103 if you'd like to choose. If not, I will. Okay, I'm going to choose 31 through 40. Do we all see 31 through 40? Yes? So here's the graph, and we have to answer a few questions. The limit of function g of x when x approaches 0 from either side. Come on. As you see, I'm having difficulties with this. I'm not very fond of tablets. Okay. Okay. So, first question. 31 through 40. Age of x. Sorry, I was reading from the one above. So, is that okay if we do 31 through 40, or you choose? Or you want 23 to 30?
31 through 40 is good.
Yeah.
Very good. Okay. Please cooperate.
Sorry, my web page refreshed. Can you repeat the page number?
103. 103. Exercises 31 through 40. Okay, so the limit of h of x as x approaches -2 from the left. -2, -2 from the left. What is the limit? And I'm going to write it.
1.
So -2 from the left is 1. So these are problems 31 through 40 on page 103. So indeed, limit of h of x as x approaches -2 from the left is 1. Everyone agrees? Please speak up if you don't. Okay, next one. 32. Limit of h of x as x approaches -3 from either side. H of x as x approaches -3 from either side. Can anyone tell us?
Zero.
Very good. -3 from either side. The function values get closer and closer to 0. Very good. Perfect. Limit. Say it again.
I have a question.
Yes.
So how did you know when the question is asking when x is approaching from either side?
There is no plus or minus. The plus or minus is for limit from left or right. Is that okay? Limit of h of x as x approaches -2 from either side. -2 from either side.
Oh, but before we move on, I don't understand why 32 is 0.
As x approaches -3 from either side, the function values get closer and closer to 0.
Okay.
That's the y value of this point is 0. Is that okay?
Yeah, I'll watch more of them and see if I'm still confused.
But this is 0, right? This is the x-axis. The y value is 0 there. At any point on the x-axis, the y value is 0. The coordinates of this point are negative 3, 0. And 0 is the y value. Then were you in the clear with this one? How did we get 1 for this one? We read from this point.
Understanding the one that we did before.
So we read from this point.
Same thing that I'm not understanding, so it's not changing my understanding.
So we read from this point, negative 2, 1. Do you remember how to read from the values from a graph?
Yeah, I'm familiar with that.
Okay, so is this better now? Do you see the negative 2, 1? Negative 2,
Yeah, I
1.
feel like I'm missing something that you're. It's fine. I'll figure out what I'm missing. I can read a graph and stuff like that. I've been in
But
class,
so what are the coordinates of this point? What are the coordinates of this point then?
I'm looking at it on my screen, so let me pull up your finger. Can you point again? I didn't see what you were pointing to. That's negative 3, 0.
When x approaches negative 3
Yeah,
for
I get that you got 0. I see you wrote it. I don't feel like you're giving any explanation of why. You just keep saying it. It's okay. I'll just keep watching. I'll find.
It's just a function value. There is nothing else I can say. When x approaches negative 3 from either side, the function values get closer and closer to the height of 0.
So we're not following the line, because the way that you were showing it when you were showing it earlier, you were like putting arrows like near where the function line was. So I guess I'm not understanding why now we're only going on the axis. And to be clear, I've never done anything with limits, so I feel I could just be missing something. But I thought that we were following the function line. In which case, when I look
But
at
the
this,
function is what we see in red. So here I had a different function I was following here, but it happened that this function crosses this line, the x-axis.
Okay.
It just happens that it crosses the x-axis, but it's the same concept. If I'm asked to find when x approaches 0, I will be here. Where the function, when x approaches 0 from either side, I will be here.
So we're looking at.
But this time, I'm asked to find when x approaches negative 3, so I have to look here at this point where x approaches negative 3. I have no choice.
Okay, and so we don't care about anything that's going on with that, like, curved line over on the
I'm
right.
asked to find what happens when x approaches negative 3, but not x approaches, you know what I mean, where the function exists. I'm not sure how to explain it.
You have to look at the whole thing as just the one function, not as the separate lines. So like if they're approaching, like with 1, when they're approaching that, it's 2 different values. So that's where the undefined comes in. Like when there's 2 of them.
Got it. So it's like we're doing a vertical.
The whole thing is just one function. You just have to look at it, the whole thing. So as it approaches that one, if there's only one point there, then you can say, especially like if it's coming in from one side, it's easy to like, you just go from that one side, and as soon as you hit that x, that's when you say that that's the limit there.
Okay, and so that makes more sense. And so it doesn't really matter like the shape of the line; it has more to do.
No, yeah, you can't get lost in the fact that it's like a broken up line. It's one function.
Okay, yeah. That helps. That makes more sense. Thanks.
Sorry, I only jumped in because it sounded like that's where the confusion was.
Oh, it's my pleasure. When a student explains to another student, I can take a sip of my water, my cup. I love it. I just got a sip of water. So in that function, the function was something like this, and then something else. This is negative 3. X approaches negative 3 from either side, and I'm asked to find where the function is going, and the function is going to 0. These are the coordinates of the point, -3, 0. So as x gets closer and closer to -3, that's where the function is going, right here. The function is going here. What is the height of this point? 0. And the heights represent, all heights represent function values. Better? So my tablet shut off completely. I'm not sure why. All of a sudden I didn't even touch it. So let's go back. I have to log in again. I don't know why. I'm logging in. So moving on. Can anyone read the next problem from the same set? So the limit of h of x as x approaches -2 from either side. Where was it? Do you all agree with 1 from the table? Yes?
I also had 1.
Okay. Anyone else? Other questions on that? Okay, I'm almost there.
So, despite it being an open circle at -2,
We already talked about that. We are not interested whether the function is defined or not. We are interested where the function values go.
okay.
If it approaches something or not. Is that okay? So here it is. So as x approaches -2 from either side, when x approaches -2 from either side, I follow the function around that point and I see 1. We don't care whether it's defined or not at that point. Everyone okay with that?
So that other point there is not part of the function? So the one at -2.
We are interested where the function values left and right approach. We are not interested in anything about that point. We are interested in function values left and right. So that's why the limit is 4. And that's why the limit is 2. Is that okay? Is 1. Is that okay? Now if I ask, what is the function value at -2? What will you say? It's a very good question. What will you say? What is the function value? But the limit does not ask us about the function value. Can anyone answer? Haber, what is the function value at -2?
At -2, would it be 1?
The function value,
Sorry, 2.
very good, which has nothing to do with the limit. Do we understand the difference between the two?
No.
I'm sorry?
It's
I said no.
The function value is 2. That's where the full point is. The full point is at 2. I have to read f of -2 is 2. But the function values, as x approaches -2 from either side, the function values do not approach 2, but approach 1. Is that okay? Is that better? Okay, let's move on and we can come back. Say it again.
A little bit, yeah, I think.
I couldn't hear you. Can you speak up?
I said that was a little bit better.